Rob Trujillo. How are you? Good morning, good afternoon for you. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing great. I feel sorry for you. It's again, es muy temprano. I appreciate you getting up early for me, and I'm excited to talk to you.
Man, I couldn't miss the opportunity to talk about, with you, first of all, and
Mhm.
about this amazing record that is 72 seasons that, you've already heard all type of feedback from your fans. That is the most important feedback, but trust me, it's so, so good. So let's talk about it, Rob. A great album, a different album for many reasons, pandemic and everything. But for you, like, which one do you think is the most challenging and the most satisfying of dropping this album? Maybe a moment in the studio or while planning the album, the most challenging thing that you can remember of it.
Well, the obviously the most challenging thing was trying to create and collaborate from distance. With the pandemic, we were obviously forced to be away from each other. And when we decided to start working on new music and new ideas, it happened really from afar. So we had to get our home studios up and running. My home studio was in storage for like 10 years, 12 years maybe. So I went and got my home studio back to get put together, and we got a little bits of new gear, and our producer Greg Fiddleman helped us kind of put everything together so we could start communicating musically through our studios and through the internet. And that's how it started. So that I would say was the most challenging. But what was great was when we did get together, I don't know, a year later, 8 months later, however long it was, you really learn to appreciate those moments where you can actually jam, and be, in person. And this album has a lot of those moments. So some of the segues uh, you hear in there, like with Lars and I, jamming together, and those moments are very, very, apparent in these songs.
It was like, a catharsis, like opening something that was contained with a lot of energy. And finally, when you met each other, it was like, we have to play. And I know that you have this first approach to Lars
Mhm.
of saying, let's start working on new music. Just like lighting the match in the beginning. Was that to you like some kind of, I don't know how this feeling worked for you, like any kind of pressure
Yeah,
of
well, there
being
was
the.
an interesting moment, and I don't know. I've told a couple people, maybe Lars. I don't know if Lars has even said anything, um, but we. So James, it's important because James had initiated everything by sending us a version of Blackened. He didn't tell us what it was, but it was an acoustic version, and we titled it Blackened 2020. And it was sort of the first step. Well, it definitely was the first step for him saying, hey, let's do something. And when he sent the song, we didn't know what it was, but he says, if you like it, record to it, jam on it, do something. So we did. And then we released it and surprised everybody, surprised our fans. So with the success of Black in 2020, it was thought that maybe we would do another acoustic version of a song, an interpretation of Day That Never Comes.
Mhm.
And I sort of took the role of taking that on, and I was working on it, and then I was like, thinking to myself, well, maybe we should work on new ideas. I think because at that time everybody started, all the other bands and musicians around the universe started putting up acoustic versions of their own material. I even got calls, messages to do some cover songs, for Zoom. And then I was like, everybody's doing this now, and so when Lars was expecting to hear an acoustic version of Day That Never Comes from me, I actually sent him something that was original, and it was electric. And it's not so much that, hey, I'm going to send this to Lars and it's going to be on the new record. It was more to, like you say, light the match, ignite the flame. And he called me and he was like, I'm confused. Is this supposed to be Day That Never Comes? Because all he heard was this electric, guitar and bass. And I said, no, man, I don't think we should do that. I think we should do original material and start working on a new record, and he was like kind of, quiet or whatever. And then about 3 hours later, he FaceTimes me and he's sweaty and he's in his robe and he jammed on my idea. And at least for me, that was a moment because that meant that he was serious about, jamming on new electric ideas, not just the acoustic thing, but actually, getting into a sort of a different creative headspace beyond just doing a cover of our own song. And a few days later, he called me and said that he wanted to start working on new music. And, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this. The other guys in the band don't know that because, this was a conversation that we had in a moment that we had together on this. But, again, like James ignited the flame, and then Lars and I took it to another place between us, and then it just sort of grew and on its own, and here we are now, with a really cool record.
Well, thank you for sharing this amazing story of, what fans want to know about all the process and how you lived it each, and then, receiving ideas from each other. I know it's very important to you in every album to try something new, like be a fan of the first things. And is there, for example, in Hardwire to Self-Destruct, Kurt tried 3 was instead of 2 was in a song. And is there any specific musical thing that you try that you've never tried before? For example, you guys made a song that is 11 minutes long. So another thing you tried for the first time.
Okay, that is a great question, because one of the most incredible moments for me ever with this band was the moment when we were writing and recording Inamorata. So basically the breakdown, the bass section, there's a few moments on this album, but this one for me was really, really special because it was the first moment where I improvised on the spot. And I literally, what you hear on the album is obviously the main recorded moment, but there were others, maybe like 100 others, and each one was improvised. And each moment I was literally closing my eyes and I was kind of just, I was speaking through kind of my body, through the instrument, and it was true improvisation coming from the heart. And like I say, on this album, every note we play, the collaborative energy of all of us is very apparent. Somebody said the other day, it's like I feel like I can see you guys playing in front of me, like James is singing in my face, and she's like, and the bass is right there, and all of you guys are right there in front of me. And that's because I believe that every note we played had that intention, and that passion. But that breakdown in Inamorata is really special for that reason, because it's really presented to you and to the world as an improvised moment from the heart. And like I said, there's about 60 others of that moment on there, but each one was special. So what you're hearing is that coming out of me. And I don't know if I could ever play that exactly. I'm going to have to obviously learn it and play it live, but just the fact that I got to do that in this band, is really, really a special experience for me personally.
And by the way, is one of my favorite songs. It's just amazing, as you're saying, hearing something that long, but that it doesn't feel like the time, because you feel in every note, as you're saying, in every note, feeling it different. And about the riffs, the one you called the Chichi Chong riffs, do you have any favorite riff of the album?
Oh yeah, my riff that has been celebrated on this album is actually in in You Must Burn. So you know the middle section. I call it my Ozzy moment where I'm singing with James. But that riff is every once in a while you have an idea, and at least for me with Metallica, and I'm like, that's for Metallica. Nobody touches that because that's for Metallica. That's what happened with Suicide and Redemption, the bass line on that. I was jamming that with my friends and, down in LA. And I remember Brooks Wackerman, who plays with Avenged Sevenfold now. He and I were jamming in the studio, and I started playing Suicide and Redemption. And he's like, "Oh, that's really good. Whoa." Everybody got excited. I go, no, that's from Metallica, So that was similar to that middle riff in You Must Burn. And do 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 do, and then the boom 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 da 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 da, again, channeling and getting your influences in there. The bass slide, I was thinking about Ozzy, and I was thinking about the song Believer just because of the slide. It's all this stuff going on there. And I'm always excited about those moments because something's going to work, and you can imagine your band playing it, and you can imagine James and Lars on the drums, stuff like that. So those are special moments, and they don't always happen, to that level. The Suicide and Redemption story was pretty good because I had played that a few times for people and jammed it, and they got very excited about it. And I said, no, you can't have it. Sorry,
I can see, Rob, this emotion. I mean, I can wait to see you guys on stage live, because I can see the energy that you feel just like saying these notes to me, the riff. But is there any song? I mean, you have lots and lots of songs, but is there anyone that you're waiting to play live because you think it's gonna give you like the chills of emotion when you hear people singing back to you?
Oh yeah, a lot of these songs, but uh, you know, oh, how we have the line temptation, that line, I can totally hear, if darkness had a son, being celebrated in front of a crowd. It's like you already know, you know what I mean? It's like, to what level though is what's going to make it really special. But that, like, already a song like If Darkness Had a Son is going to really resonate, and that'll probably be a keeper. I also feel strongly about 72 Seasons. I believe that song is going to resonate in front of a live audience. That's the cool thing about this album. There's a lot of songs that are going to have their place live. Obviously we have to choose which ones to play and which night. And that's, again, that's a special thing about us going out and doing this tour, and having the opportunity to not always play the same set. We're mixing it up every night. So having new songs to play within that context is going to be really fun.
It's gonna be so different. Also, I mean, Mexican fans, I believe they're gonna be all the times, because Mexican fans. Last time you were in Mexico, I talked to James, and he said some countries are like trendy. For example, they go up and they go down, but Mexico has been steady and going up during all these years.
Oh
So,
yeah.
is there a moment that you cherish the most of Mexico, of the Mexican fans?
Oh yeah. I mean, we I remember when we were there and we played, I think it was 5 or 6 nights, and in the arena. And I remember walking out to the stage, and the fans were singing, and they were doing, probably what be the equivalent to sort of almost a soccer chant. And you could feel the ground trembling. It was like an earthquake. And then when we got up on the stage, because we were playing in the round, the stage was shaking. And I've never experienced that in my life on that level, like where the stage is shaking. And then you looked up into the stands, and there was actually like a chain link fence, and you could see people like doing this. I just, the fans in Mexico are incredible. I mean, it's just, we're very lucky because obviously our fans around the world are incredible. South America, I mean, we played Argentina last year, and in Buenos Aires, and that was amazing. Brazil. And I really believe that people were so confined with the pandemic that they were just, fueled with more passion and energy than ever. So I can only imagine in Mexico City what that's gonna be like. I mean, they've been, kind of relegated and held hostage in their own homes. Now they get to see Metallica with new songs. So I'm expecting, just total madness, and love and appreciation, because that's how we feel. I mean, we love going to Mexico City, all over Mexico, and playing and sharing our music. So sharing new songs, that's going to be great.
Rob, get ready for Mexico, because as you're saying, we're gonna be
I
crazy
know
and
you're
ever.
gonna be loco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
muy loco. So this is maybe a weird question regarding comparison of Mexican food. And for
Yeah.
example, crown of barbed wire. If you
Mm.
had to describe this song as a Mexican street dish,
Ooh.
how would you describe it?
Well, that means it's going to be very spicy. You know, it's going to be, what is it? Muy
Muy
picante.
picante, muy picante.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's going to be the hottest chili ever. It's going to be, uh, it's going to be the ones that make your eyes water. It's going to make you cry. Um, yeah, I love that song. By the way, there's a great, I don't know if you've seen the video, but the video, it's animated. It's really cool. And then also the other song to celebrate is amazing. The video is not released yet, but Inamorata, incredible video, like really, really beautiful. So get ready, because you have a couple more videos coming, and to celebrate these songs. But Crown of Barbed Wire is yeah, that's a dangerous song. It is. It's a dangerous song. So I understand what you're saying. It just has a sense of smell and taste and danger to it. You can feel it. I'm glad that you picked up on that. That's really cool. You
It's
like
a
the
good song. And I wanted to know if you thought, I mean, as most of the fans, that it's like spicy and, different. So just two last questions, Rob. As you're saying the videos and everything, I think that Metallica is a band that also is always like doing a lot of things besides playing and touring and writing and jamming. So about the vinyl press plant,
Mhm.
to me is like something really impressive. And I know, for example, the first vinyl that you bought was Santana. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
to you, which is the feeling of, holding in your hands 72 seasons and knowing that also like you've accomplished this pressing plant?
Well, I think it's amazing. I'm a huge fan of Record Store Day, International Record Store Day. Um, I was so happy to see that it actually was fueled and blossomed even more during the pandemic. At one point I was talking to Michael Kurtz, who I'm really good friends with from Record Store Day, and he's one of the main sort of I guess you could say individuals to spearhead this movement all over the world. And we were worried that the independent record shops would not be able to survive the pandemic. And what ended up happening was the opposite. Young people, old people, people in general discovered vinyl again, and they celebrated this by like young people, for instance. It's like, wow, what is this? And then all of a sudden they're discovering Black Sabbath, and they're discovering, different styles of music, probably discovering jazz, discovering Metallica, and from that, it inspired young people to play instruments. There was a time about, 10 years ago where the music stores were actually, closing because nobody was buying guitars or basses or drums. And that to me was heartbreaking. And with vinyl, I believe that it's helped inspire young people to play instruments and to write songs. I know from my son, from Ty, seeing all these young teenage bands in Los Angeles and in California, and I'm there, I'm on the street, so I'm able to see these groups. When his band Otto plays, I'm seeing this band and this great drummer and this, and I'm seeing all these young musicians. I'm like, wow, where'd they come from? Well, they came from the last 3 years of growing and playing music and instruments and being passionate like I was and like we were, the members of Metallica, exactly the same way. I think that's amazing, and vinyl has everything to do with that. Most young people that I know, and people literally up into their 30s and 40s, have some sort of record player. One of the things that I can share with you is that when I celebrate a new record, I buy the vinyl and I go to my friend's house, my tour assistant, Jeff Bass, and he's got this wall of speakers and this turntable and these great, like this whole setup with the amps and all the deal. And I sit there in a chair like the old Maxell commercial, and I'm listening to the power of this vinyl, of this music. And it's the celebration that I experience before I hear a new record. Like when I hear a new record, and I do that with all records, it's just a thing that I do. So vinyl is important to me. I'm so happy that it's strong and vibrant. So us, getting involved and having a partnership with Furnace Records is a match made in heaven. It means that we're waving the banner for vinyl, and we're not going to let it die. Like so many things are a trend. Well, if we can help extend the life of vinyl and make it a way of life, I'm all for it. So I think it's very exciting.
Giving life back to music. So
Oh yeah.
that's just
Well,
amazing.
also when you look at the artwork and the gatefold,
Mhm.
and you take out and you're like seeing who played what and where it was recorded. I love all that information. I mean, the reason why the Santana album was so important to me is because I was listening to the music and I was studying the artwork, and it was everything from like, what's going on there, who's this woman, who's this dude over here, he looks like he's singing, I'm like, I was really dissecting and embracing what I was looking at with the music, and all of that. So, it's way better than looking at sort of a little CD and cool, it's not the same. You need to have something that's physical on that level.
Yes. Well, Rob, thank you for this, for your time. Just a last question, a weird question too. If you could pick any song from 72 seasons and choose any artist from any genre to make a cover of any of the songs, who would you choose?
Oh, wow. That's a good question, because it could be really funny, and I could tell you that I would choose. Are you familiar with Cheech and Chong?
No.
Okay, Cheech and Chong were a comedy team, and I've been saying this in the press, and if you, when you get a chance at some point, look them up. They had an incredible song called Earache My Eye in the 70s, and it was da 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 da, and they had a horn section, everything. And If Darkness Had a Sun is a song that I've been saying, I could hear Cheech and Chong like temptation, and Cheech and Chong, they had a one guy, they were like what we call stoners. So they were always very high, and you're like, yeah, man, cool dude. And one of them was what we say Chicano. He was Mexican American, and yeah, that would have been Cheech Marin. Cheech Marin is his name. So I always imagine him going temptation, like that. But aside from that, that would be the humorous side. I would say, let's see, what would be a really powerful song. Um, I mean, I would love to hear like 72 Seasons and this is going to sound crazy. What if 72 Seasons was covered by Slayer? I mean, that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. No one would expect that, but I would love it. I would love it. Because I always feel like, as some people say there's a competition, and maybe it's because I came into the band later. I view it as more as two signature sort of icon powerhouses, that had this energy back in the early 80s, really strong. But like, what if, the classic, Slayer lineup covered the song like 72 Seasons? That would be pretty cool.
That would be weird. So maybe we can make this video viral and maybe that could happen.
Maybe
Well,
that could happen. You go, "Hey, what? Come on, man, those guys, they're too good."
Rob, thank you for your time. We can wait to have you here in Mexico. And well, I mean, thank you for this interview and for this night talk. Nice talk.
Well, thanks for having me, and we will see you soon. All right.
See.
Okay. Adios.
Entrevistas Alfa.